Hey everybody, welcome back to the VSO Gun Channel. It's excellent to have you here as always. Thank you for watching. And today we're going to be doing a fair amount of making fun of the ATF because they turned their homework in late yet again. We're talking pistol braces here again. I know that this has been a long drawn out process. I'm here to tell you it's only going to get longer. I know that many of you are irritated with these incremental updates, but I'm here to remind you that we are arguing this at the district court level. This is just the beginning, boys and girls. We haven't even made it to the circuit court yet. We have covered in great detail the motions that have made it up to and then been sent back down over the course of the last year or so, but we are still arguing at the district court level, which is for all intents and purposes the beginning of the road. Win, lose, or draw, we'll be going to the circuit court guaranteed, and then maybe the Supreme Court after that. So buckle in because we're going to be here for a minute. But today we're talking about the ATF's most recent arguments on why the government is being mean to them about basically granting a preliminary injunction against them and the enforcement of their unconstitutional, ill-advised, and reckless pistol brace regulation. Now, before we do all of that, though, we got to do a capitalism break. I'll be right back. Just a couple seconds. I have a really hard time getting behind products that declare themselves to be gray man products, as in trying to make the end user blend in more, particularly those survival bags that are covered in webbing. Well, I think Mission First Tactical actually did it this time around. The Achro is their spin on a high-quality bag with concealed carry and armor considerations in a package that looks modern rather than the typical stuff that we get in a tactical bag. And that's really the whole point. We want that bag to say, that dude is hauling a picnic of avocado and kale sandwiches with a side of oat milk, not an MP5 SD and 3 extra mags. Mission First offers VSO viewers a hefty discount with my code that you can find over at the affiliates page, and I want to say thank you very much to them for making today's video possible. If you would like a full synopsis of the Achro line, then never fear, I have exactly the video for you. I'll have it listed in the description box down below. And of course, we're talking about the Mock V Garland case, which is the FPC case out of the Northern District of Texas. Gotta love me some Texas. We've talked about this case a whole bunch up to this point, and most people consider it the controlling case up to this point anyway. And basically where we're at, and this is probably, I'm not going to say 100%, but probably the last that we're going to hear of this case in 2023, and we'll pick it up in 2024. The situation is this. Both sides have now filed their motion for summary judgment, which basically says, hey, here are our arguments. This is why you should give it to us. Now, remember that the court has granted a preliminary injunction saying that, no, you can't enforce this rule because the plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits of their case. So that is a feather in FPC's cap. Up to this point, it signals that the court is definitely kind of on face value, seeing that, yeah, the ATF's probably going to lose this case. But the ATF has now filed this 69-page document, mostly making the same tired arguments that they've lost with up to this point. However, there are some new ones in here that deserve much laughing and jeering, and that's what I want to focus on here today. But before we can get to any of the new stuff, we have to go to paragraph 1, literally sentence 1, because the document starts out with a lie. I mean, it's a blatant falsehood, and here it is. For nearly a century, Congress has regulated short-barrel rifles, weapons it deems uniquely dangerous and prone to criminal misuse. Time out. Stop. That is a factually inaccurate statement. The National Firearms Act of 1934 was initially undertaken for the purposes of banning machine guns and handguns. However, through the whole process of doing that, and if you read the writings of anybody involved in the process at the time, they will tell you that they had two major concerns. First, that they were going to have major constitutional problems banning anything. And second, that they were going to have constitutional problems and re-election problems with handguns. So they decided to go with a tax scheme. The whole idea was to make things exorbitantly expensive. It was never to ban anything. And the whole idea of banning or making something exorbitantly expensive and drying it up when you're going up against organized crime of the time, which basically had a money printing machine, was never going to work. It did not work, and it did not curb any of that stuff whatsoever. All it did was make it hard for people like you and me to get them. They targeted poor people. They left out the handgun thing at the last minute because they realized that they were going to have real problems with that. And the resulting leftovers of that became the whole short-barreled whatever. It was never about that. That was all something that they could try to tag on to some of those arms that they were targeting at the time for the purposes of just tagging on extra charges to mobsters. It was never about them being excessively dangerous or anything like that. It was literally to get mobsters on tax evasion. That was the whole thing. Remember, guys, we're talking about people that thought it was a good idea to ban alcohol across the United States. Now that I have thoroughly outlined the intellectual lightweights that you are working with, recognizing the inconsistencies in its early attempts to classify these novel brace-equipped weapons, ATF began to revisit its guidance and analytical framework. You think? Remember that whole thing where it was like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's not cool if you shoulder it a particular way. Oh, just kidding. No, it's cool again. It doesn't matter if you shoulder it. Oh, now they're a short barrel rifle. Are they novel or are they not? Right? So you can't have it both ways, because in here a couple times they'll have the thing that says braced pistols, as in that's not what they are. No, they're braced pistols. They are. It was a pistol, and then we put a brace on it, right? It's not an SBR, but they are claiming that it's an SBR. So it can't both be novel and the other thing, right? It's a new thing. Novel means new. Sorry, you can't have it both ways there, Big Mac. The ATF did not intend to speak with the force of law. Bullshit. Bullshit. And the court has already called them on that one. Basically, the whole argument is comment period required? And the ATF's like, oh, well, we can't make law, so we don't have to give comment, but we did. So, did you or didn't you? If you didn't have to, then why did you provide opportunity for comment? If it wasn't going to carry the force of law, right? Bullshit. This right here. This is what I actually wanted to do today's video on. I'm not going to read the entire section to you. The heading is enough. Basically, what they're saying here is that they weren't being prejudicial to the 2A community. They weren't trying to pull a fast one by publishing the proposed rule and then in the final rule pulling all of the criteria out and making just like a vague kind of like ethereal idea of what is or what constitutes a short-barreled rifle, right? No, they weren't trying to get over on anybody. They weren't trying to ram through something that was vague, that they could exploit whenever they wanted or anything like that. No, that was just a harmless error because we were going for the same direction, right? It's okay because we meant to just go in this direction anyway. It's all a means to an end, right? Here's the thing. I think you should absolutely read this document because it reads pretentious. Right? You can hear the sound bounce off the nose as it comes down to you while you read it. It's pretty amazing to see the ivory tower casting stones down at the SCA in print form. And then the last section that we're going to spend some time on today, we're just going to go with the heading because I'm not going to read the whole analysis here because it's very easy to pick apart, even for my diminutive brain. Short barrel rifles are dangerous and unusual weapons. Timeout. First of all, we're not talking about short barrel rifles here. You keep saying that they're short barrel rifles, and just because you keep saying it, again, that pretentious thing, again, just because you say it does not make it true, particularly because you have demonstrated over the years that you have no idea what the heck it is that you are talking about from a technical perspective. But for the sake of following the logic all the way through to its ultimate conclusion, let's accept the premise. They're not SBRs, but let's go ahead and just say that they are for the sake of, bringing this thing home. There are currently 532,000 short-barreled rifles on the NFA registry. Okay? That is way more than was established for common use in the taser thing, right? All weapons are dangerous, but in order for them to be non-constitutionally protected, which I don't necessarily agree with this, but this is the standard that we're using, they have to be dangerous and unusual, not dangerous or unusual. They have to be dangerous and adds them together. Plus, they have to be both. If you add 40 million to 532,000, that is way over common use there, brother. So please, by all means, win on the basis of this. And the next case that's going to come through is just common use, right? So like the ultimate conclusion here is that this is a circular firing squad of idiocy when it comes to these arguments. And what it shows, consistently applying the logic to the arguments that are fielded in this debate, is that the concepts that the gun control movement has been using for the last 100 years are flawed to their core, and they need to be thrown out. That the whole concept that started in 1934 with the NFA and has been built on ever since was a flawed concept that never worked, has never done anything positive to impact outcomes in the United States, and all it is a tax scam for the purposes of accruing more money to the general fund. And the whole thing just needs to die because it was conceived by intellectual lightweights. It was built and weaponized by people who hate this country, and is being used today to target otherwise peaceable citizens. So, boys and girls, the board is set, and we will see what happens probably in 2024. Let me know in the comment section down below who made the better argument. Like, I don't know the answer to that question already.